It shows the one that goes across the Lynnhaven, south of Lynnhaven Bridge, and that was the bridge, one or two bridges prior to the one that we're going to tear down and build a new one, I think. And then it went to Fort Stewart, and then it came down to the ocean front, had a spur going to Camp Pendleton, and then back. And then it also shows the one we're interested in today, the southern branch that comes off of Euclid and comes on down. It also has all the old names that we don't hear about anymore. And, you know, Thomas's corn and Chinese corn and all that. Some of us folks have been here a while, kind of related to that. Gallup's corn. And with that and the photographs, I think you can get some insight. And everybody be thinking how the best way to display those photographs. I do have stickies saying this is downtown Creek in 37, or Pungo, or wherever it might be, but anyway, however we can do it. I also have some artifacts that I found on the farm. And our farm is the second farm south of Creek School. The first one, the Salmon's farm, and ours used to be the Spence farm. And Spence was a cousin of ours. So the family, my son acquired it after they passed away. And all this stuff you see up here is artifacts I found in the right way. Very clear where it is on our farm. And we're in the produce business, which means you do a lot of chopping and hand work. So nothing sounds better to your ear to hear a nice little ping with a hole with metal, because you know you got a goodie there. And there's the things I found in what's almost as good as that is a dull ping, which means you got a rock. And unless there's tar on it, it's probably from an Indian. And it's impressive, I think, the last time anybody picked up that rock was probably Native American, and the last time anybody picked up, put these spikes in was a long time ago. There's also a spike puller underneath there, and that has a story too, underneath that map, I think, Steve. Mike Eden, and some of you may know Mike Eden. He's deceased, he's a retired Coast Guard captain. He was raised in Cherry Neck and Muddy Creek Road. Nanny's Creek Road. And his first job right out of high school was to work with Mr. Capps. And Mr. Capps, Guy Capps, was the potato guru in Virginia Beach. And Mike Eden was a pretty smart fella. He said, gosh, I'm not going to work them hot, dirty jobs of potatoes. I'm going to get me a white collar job. So he soon got a clipboard. He'd go around to the railroad car and say, well, it's 50 bags here, 10 bags. And Mike gave me that, and he can't remember whether when he was working there, somebody gave it to him, or his father got it some way, but it did come from the southern branch of the railroad here in town. It has a unique bent to it that I can't quite figure out. It's not bent on 180 degrees, it's bent sideways. And either somebody did a lot of side pulling, or either somebody backed up with a piece of equipment, and they gave it to Mike and said, get rid of this thing, I don't need it anymore. So anyway, we have that we can look at it. I might give you a little bit about my history. The native of Knott's Island, my folks lived on Knott's Island since day one. My father's folks in Bertie County, right on the Chilliwack River, just on the other side of Eden. And I guess the Knott's Island folks are probably a little more important, because Mother had many stories about riding the train to wherever she had to go. The steamboat came to the south end of Knott's Island. Didn't I go to Knott's Island? Go down south, yeah, Mr. Batten has been there. The old steam dock was right straight there. The new one is on, you had to turn to the right and go west. And she used to go down and catch the steamboat, and she'd go to Munnins Point. And the station manager, Tom Waterfield's wife, was my mother's aunt. So she had inside track. She'd sometimes go a day early so she could spend the night, and then she'd go wherever she had to go. She was a school teacher. In those days, you didn't go to school 4 years, not many people, that I knew, and get your degree. She went to summer schools and then tried to get it all together, and she went to Duke a couple of summers. That was her highlights of her education. And she used to catch a steamboat to Munnins Point to go to Durham, and she often had tales about that. Steve's already mentioned our produce business. It's a family affair. My son was environment engineer for VDOT, and he retired, and he got tired of driving to Suffolk and going from Suffolk to north end of the eastern shore. And driving back to Suffolk and driving home, he said, guys, I can't do this for 30 years. I'm going to do something else. So About that time, I retired from the city. I was fortunate enough, I was director of agriculture for about 10 years. So we set up this little farm out there, found our produce, and we got 2 daughters as school teachers, and they worked in the summer, and 4 grandchildren, and one just graduated from JMU, and the others sophomore Longwood. If they want to come back, fine. If they want to do something else, they know what hard work is anyway. So let's talk about the training a little bit. Then we can get on these maps. Be thinking how's the best way to display. I do have a magnifier there because some of these are small scale, but I think it's intriguing to look at Prince Anne Courthouse in 1949. And when, you know, telling the agent, actually the railroad goes right through his parking lot. And that's depicted on these maps. The railroad, and all of you know better now about the railroad. What I can gather, it started citywide. It started, I guess, in about 1883 or something like that. There was a railroad that went to, I guess, to Fort Story or the ocean front, and it goes by various names. And it mentioned it as a rail, and I assume that maybe that wasn't a standard gauge. Some of those railroads, but anyway, Norfolk and Southern started managing these in about 1900, 1902 or something. And the management felt that was a good deal, so they bought the whole shebang in, I think, 1904 or 2 or somewhere in there. And they upgraded everything, all the tracks, no more narrow gauges, and also they converted from steam to electric engine. And about that time, somebody said, hey, it'd be nice to have a spur coming down here to us good folks living in the southern part of the city. And at that time, there was quite a demand for sportsman hunting. The market hunting was a thing of the past. I think in the late 20s or 30s, they said, well, you can't kill 300 ducks a day anymore. And I know my grandparents are not some market hunters. They load them in barrels and the steam, actually some of them went by train, but load them in barrels at South End and not South. And even in the Depression, a pair of canvasbacks bought about $3, and that was big money. I often wondered what those ducks looked like when they got to Baltimore and New York, and a barrel with feathers and everything. But that was the days you can remember when everybody, some people like kind of seasoned or ripe meat, and I guess they were the ones that like that. I can't imagine all that. And very little ice, you know, not much refrigeration. Well, it was wintertime, so maybe that helped a little bit. But anyway, that spur was built, and it went by a couple of different names. One was the attorneys, lawyers that came from Norfolk or wherever to the courthouse. And I think it's kind of amazing that our courthouse is one of the few places that never had a lot of law offices surrounding the courthouse. You go to all these little country places, and I've worked everywhere east of Charlottesville, I guess, in the state. And you go, you know, King William, all those places, you got 10,000 people. And they got 2 or 3 law offices around. Currituck's got the same thing. But Virginia Beach, really, other than that, is 1 or 2 attorneys there. Most of them, you know, they live someplace else, you know, Time Center or somewhere. But at that time, they had to come in. They came in by train. And weekends, they called a sportsman by train. That's when Mr. Knapp, you know, on Mackey Island, and you had Corey, which was President U.S. Steel, had the club on Knox Island on the Marsh Road actually going, and Ogden Reed, and some of those folks are well, and the Childs, and also Mr. Eastman. Actually, he perfected some of his techniques here, I understand, in Virginia Beach. Duck hunting sometime about. But anyway, they would ride the train, and either they'd be picked up at Munners Point or they had their own boat. I know so far as Mackey Island and Swan Island, Mr. Knapp had a nice boat there. And then, you know, they'd come over and meet the train, they'd carry them back to hunt for a week or 2, and then they'd go back to the shirt and tie and some corporate headquarters. Yes, I was remiss. I should have mentioned first that a train is probably the greatest economic engine an area can have. Because up at that time, in Virginia Beach and elsewhere, it was really subsistence kind of living when you think about it. And you can look at those maps, and all those old farmhouses have an orchard. They have a bunch of apple trees and pear trees and pecan trees, muscadine grapes, and they lived off of that. It's subsistence living, my definition. You made enough food for your family, your livestock or your poultry, or enough to give your neighbors. You had no money crop, nothing to sell. So you know, you really didn't get much income there. But once that train came, then farmers said, hey, I can sell my produce. I can grow, you know, I can grow a few extra bushels or whatever. And that was when Mr. Guy Capps, which had his office at Creeks, he was the potato agent of Guru. You didn't have to put any money out. He'd give you the seed. He'd give you the fertilizer. He would get the migratory labor. If you needed it, he would haul them. He'd sell them. And at the end of the season, he'd send you a check. It sounded great. We actually grew, in the 30s, we grew about 4,000 acres of potatoes. And that's a lot of potatoes. And I know Daddy one year grew 5 acres on Knott's Island. And I helped pick up, I got paid like the rest of the migratory workers. I got 10 cents a bag. And at the end of the season, Mr. Cap sent Dad a check for $180 for 5 acres. And I know exactly what Daddy said. He said, at least got 3 fertilizers. But you won't add any money. You didn't have to go get a production loan like some people do now. And Mr. Capps he cold storage houses in Norfolk. He really, I don't know his entire network, but he was a pretty smart man to be able to float that deal. All those farmers and get all the products to them, fertilizer and seed, and then be able to get migratory workers and then sell all those products. And at least most of the time you had something left over. So Mr. Guy Capps was really had a lot to do, and he got the trains too. Also, I hurt my leg, and when I heard it, I was reading some stuff about Delaware. Delaware and Virginia Beach really has a lot of common. Sussex County, I think, is the middle county. Delaware don't have 3 counties. There's a big peach growing area, and these peaches were hauled by trains. And they had such a big crop a few years that the local railroad people could not furnish the cars. So the railroad man just went out in the Midwest and leased a bunch of cars. Of course, when they brought them in, they had to charge more for those cars because I guess they paid more, and they had to get them back somewhere. Anyway, the farmers were just grown because they had to pay another nickel a bushel for those lease cars than they used to. And actually, there was a protest, and they lost a lot of peaches, and now we shipped them out. It was 2 authors. They wrote a book about it. The title is Rural North Carolina before the Depression, and it said that once eastern North Carolina got away from the influence of the railroads in Norfolk, it was sufficient kind of farming. And they even went so far as to say a lot of those people moved to western, Tennessee and Kentucky and whatnot in order to make a living. And I happen to think back, North Carolina is private. I think they had 3 presidents, Johnson, Jackson, I can't think of third one. The disappointing thing is they were born in North Carolina, but none of them lived in they were all in Tennessee or Kentucky or somewhere. And I guess that's a true story. These people did a lot of work. So they couldn't say enough about the economic engine. I know this about the Delaware, the peaches, and none of those other counties. Canton, all of them didn't grow peaches because they didn't have any railroad. So we didn't grow peaches, but we had potatoes to go with. The northern part of the city had quite a dairy industry. Northern Salem Road and Holland Road and Rosebud, a lot of dairies. Had about 40 dairies. No dairies down here. I don't know why. We really had kind of a monoculture. We just grew potatoes and nothing else. Corn and soybeans came later, but in those days, in the 20s and 30s, it was just potatoes. I also have I don't know if I mentioned a photograph of Little Creek showing the trains going over to the eastern shore, and I think I'll close now. Do you have any questions or comments? And I really would like for you to kind of look at these photographs and the map. I'm not sure the best way to manage that. We can kind of spread them out, or we can pass them around.
We put the table across there and try and leave them.
Especially one on Munnins Point, and I've got a mile overlay showing where the train was and how that train turned around. It always intrigued me how they got that thing turned around. I guess they had to back it in and then pull it out and back it in again in order to turn it around.
Louis, when did the train stop running?
Pardon?
When did the train stop running?
It stopped somewhere around World War II, and I have a photograph on taken up the rails, but I couldn't find it. It stopped from Back Bay south. It stopped prior to the Back Bay north, but not many years. I guess motor cars came in about that time, and you know, people could haul potatoes and all with trucks, and they didn't need it. Things changed entirely after that. So it probably went about World War II, maybe in the early 40s, maybe some of the metal used for scrap. Also, I'm not real sure when the railroad was built, but I think Norfolk Southern took over in 1904, and whether that track was built. I thought it was 1895, but I couldn't verify that. That's the date.
Thank you.
Oh, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Were your potatoes shipped up to the northeast?
Yeah, shipped. That's a good question. To Baltimore and Philadelphia, New York, most potatoes went. All the produce here went north because that's where the population was. Of course, those people in Delaware and New Jersey, they knew how to grow potatoes too. But there's very little Midwestern, Idaho type potatoes coming in then.
I think I read that the eastern Florida grew a lot of potatoes too. Was that like that?
No, I don't think he went on Eastern, so I don't really know. I was pretty young when he was in his heyday. I don't know, but he was a big operator and had cold storage warehouses. None of the potatoes at the time were washed. They had potato graders at these stations, but they just grade them aside pretty much. And at that time, the little ones were coals. They were given to the hogs or something. Now we call them creamers and charge $2 a pound for them. Times have changed quite a bit with the potato industry.
Mr. Cullipher,
Yes, sir.
what are the crops that we see right along Princess Anne Road?
We see soybeans mostly, corn and soybeans. We're primarily strictly grain, corn, soybeans and corn and wheat. And we grow with the wheat, corn, soybean cycle. We grow 3 crops in 2 years because wheat grows in the wintertime. And the other kind of agriculture is kind of like us, your small operators and your produce. Because unless you got thousands of acres, corn, wheat, and soybeans, you're not going to have it. You've got a tremendous expense for the combine. The other side is if in the produce business, you've got to have a whole bunch of junky equipment because most of the equipment is single purpose. You got to put the plastic down, the tape down. You got to have special equipment to dig potatoes, and it's just so much to it. But that's the way. But if you only have a few hundred acres, you're not going to have it with corn and beans. You're just not volume is everything. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The potatoes you're talking about, are they white potatoes or sweet potatoes?
They were white potatoes. Yeah.
Were there any sweet potatoes
There
on
was.
here?
That's a good point. There were 1,200 acres of sweet potatoes, but I'm not sure many of them were shipped by train. By that time, I think most of them were shipped by truck. Farmers had their own truck. And I have a record of all the farmers and how many bushels of sweet potatoes they had in storage. And in fact, 1,300 acres now. The whole state of Virginia grows less than 50 acres of sweet potatoes.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. Wow. And we grow about 1,300 acres of strawberries, and now we grow 30 acres of strawberries, and we're the largest strawberry producers in the Commonwealth. 30 acres. The things that really, of course, production is a lot more. But that's a good point. Sweet potatoes, and there's a few of those curing houses left. If you see a house back that's got a chimney on it, that's what you had to run heat to cure a sweet potato. You change the starch to sugar, you heat to about 90 degrees, and you relative humidity about 95 for about 30 days. And that shrinks the potato and it makes it sweet. Because a lot of people say, oh, cured. I had a person one time I was telling about cured. He said, cured from what? What kind of disease? We're getting away from the farm of many generations. Maybe that's not a good word. Maybe seasoned. Anyway, I have the maps up here, and any way you think will facilitate looking at them. I know that.
I can hold this one up.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is I always say Jenkins look like a duck here. This is a stitches that railroad that came through here and went across the Lesson Bridge, and I got a photograph of that. Actually, the track was on the south side, and then it went up to Fort Store and on down here to the ocean front, a spur going to Camp Pendleton. And I understand that was a single track, but it made a loop. They didn't, so it wouldn't hit each other. I guess the timing was right, so they were running around. And this is the one going, this is the southern spur that we talked about. This is Euclid, and this is the courthouse, Oh, that's Punga. That's the courthouse. I guess when you could stick it, he's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
You could, which is pretty much parallel and 5-mile stretch of Prince Anne Road. And then go to Prince Anne Courthouse, and actually it goes between, if I remember what, Barty's service station, it goes right through the parking lot of the television store, which is abandoned. And then it made a turn out to Punga, and Punga you can see where they had a cotton gin, the ice plant, and all that along it, and a potato grader. And then it went from Punga to Back Bay, Punga to Back Bay. Back Bay had a station and a potato grader there, and then Creed, actually the potato grader now was on the south side of the road. And I can say, and 37 folk I can very surely see it. 49 somebody taking it down as along. And this is Munnins Point, which goes into North Indian River, which is almost to the Carolina line. And this is where the steamboat would leave and go to Knox Island and Elizabeth City and I guess wherever. Also, Mrs. Henley has done a lot of country. Lady Henley has done a lot of work. She theorizes that there's a lot more people settle this part of the city from Old Currituck Inlet than we used to thought. We used to think everybody, settled in Haven and then you moved this way. But that's why Oak Grove is the oldest church, I think, in the city. And all those old churches are down here because this really was settled before some of the Lynn Haven. And of course, Eastern Carolina came in Old Currituck Inlet and went down to Carolina. And that's where Byrd got the orders to survey separate, a big controversy between Virginia and North Carolina line. This is on Knox Island. You say, oh, I'll pay taxes in Virginia. No, I'll pay taxes north. And you didn't pay any taxes. And then it said to go to the high point north of the inlet and put a stake and run it directly west. Well, it took them about a month to decide where the high point north of the inlet was, because it's doomed shift, what time, but that's high. So big controversy. And then they went west, and Byrd didn't give Knox Island was a very good name. He said they were superstitious, and not very energetic, and all. And he's talking about my folks, I guess. Anyway, that's pretty much that's it. But also has all the old names, and each house is actually put in with if it's a blackened in square, it's an occupied house. If it's just the outside of a square, it's an unoccupied house. Can you imagine somebody making a determination, well, is anybody living in their house? And then put it on a map. All this is hand done. It's just amazing. And the accuracy is really outstanding for the scale that they use. So anyway, I know you got lunch just waiting for you. So,
And where we are is just a little bit north of the Back Bay there.
that's right. Yeah.
That's where we are right now.
But feel free to look at these photographs, and I hope they're not sticky on that we kind of identify where all the things are. A little different scale. This is the Lynn Haven one here.
It's down on the far left, underneath that.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one that actually shows Munnins Point with the train coming in here. And this is the turnaround. You can lift up, you can probably see it. This is Munnins Point train coming in. You actually see the wharf and the barge. This is 1937. You see the barge. The old steam pier, I guess, had deteriorated that time. Looks like to me it's not being used. But the trains came in here. Actually, the turnaround, I guess they had to back in here and come in here and then back again. But that shows the original configuration of turning at Munnins Point. And I noticed the one at Little Creek had the same design. So I guess the railroad folks thought that was a pretty good design. Anyway, that's all I have, and it's certainly been a great audience, and I appreciate it, but I'll be around for a while, and I'll be glad to answer questions and come look at whatever you wish to look at.
Thank you.